And welcome back to Birchwood. It is day 2 of this year's NGC for the ANC, and it is, of course, the 5th edition thereof. And I'm joined by the National Spokesperson of the ANC, Mahlengi Bhengu, just to take a look at what happened yesterday and basically summarize. And let's start with the mood and your overall assessment of how things went yesterday, Ms. Bhengu. Good morning.
Good morning, Sakina. We believe that it was a great start by many accounts. The fact that the meeting started on time.
You were a bit late.
No, we were not late.
Didn't you say 10 o'clock?
We're not late.
You started at 25 to 11.
Wow. Sakina, pedantic much.
But it's late.
No, but if you were to look at it in relative terms, that's starting on time for the ANC, where you're busing people from different parts of South Africa, not just a small number, big numbers, having to put them to bed somewhere and having to get them to be here on time. That is what we've not mastered that. That's always been one of our weaknesses.
But doesn't that reflect negatively on the party?
Well, it reflects positively on the party that we're able, at least with this National General Council, to send a message that says we're serious about party discipline.
All right. We'll park that one to the side. You know, you say I'm being pedantic. I'm saying 35 minutes late is still late, but it's neither here nor there. Let's get into the substantive issues.
Absolutely.
The substantive discussions that took place yesterday. So just your overall assessment of how things started.
Well, as I say, I think we did well. And I think this time it's really just not just chest beating. If you look at the fact that we had a political report by the president delivered as in line with what's on the agenda, and you look at the fact that credentials were adopted without a single objection, unanimously, without a single input, everything, it was all about proposing adoption. The fact that the agenda was adopted in the way that it was adopted, and then the fact that we're able to then move on to the core business of the National General Council, which is the presentation of the midterm report by the Secretary General on behalf of the NEC. That took place and that was concluded. I noted the resounding applause by all provinces to that report and the NEC. Of course, it was the NEC report, to that report. Again, signaling the fact that the ANC is now, it's a moment of reckoning and alive to the need to take things as seriously as we should. And a report of that nature that broke down our membership base, did a classification of our membership, did a detailed demonstrating the different age cohorts that are leading our branches, telling us about where the young people in their leadership sits within the structures of the ANC, about the position of women and all of that. So a report that was really quite analytical, because we need to understand what is the organization that we are leading and that we are part of in terms of its total makeup, in terms of the demographics, in terms of class formation as well. And the report contained all of those elements, quite apart from reporting on renewal and other things, but a very sustained discussion in the midterm report about the analysis of who is the ANC in South Africa today in 2025.
So who is the ANC in 2025?
Well, we find that in the report that a big part of our leadership are still hovering around the 40s to the 50s. In the past, it used to be hovering around the 50s and the 60s. So clearly there is a general shift. And then, of course, it also shows that I think it's close to 19% of leadership of the ANC that are below, that are within the 30 to 35 age cohort. That bodes well for the future. If you look at the tradition of liberation movements, you can go to, I won't mention their names, you can go to some of our neighboring liberation movements. They still remain old. So clearly there's a massive shift to to make the ANC younger and have younger and fresh faces with fresh ideas and with the required energy to take us out of the woodworks into the future. And so that report demonstrated those kinds of shifts that have taken place over time.
And, all good and well to pat yourself on the back for things that you believe have gone well. But the reality is that the ANC now finds itself as the leader of a government of national unity, which means things have gone wrong. Things have veered off track for the ANC, and badly so. So these are the things that I would imagine need to find expression in the briefings that will take place.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Having highlighted the things that we highlight, because it's important that our members out there can see the value of the work they bring. And that is why we can't always talk about the problems. We must also talk about things that are working. But we must do so with a sense of measure. And because the challenge is to focus on the things that are not working. So we have commissions today, so if I could just go to the looks ahead. We have a number of commissions which are looking at matters that are contained in the strategy and tactics document of the ANC, matters that have to do with the direction that our revolution is taking, assessing our balance of forces both domestically as well as in geopolitical terms, looking at quite a lot of things, state power among other things, looking at governance and all of those things. So we're going to be sitting in those commissions. I think they're assembling now for at 8:30 to start at 9. And a big number of those commissions, but we will be bringing commission chairs to SABC at the Media Village to reflect on emerging perspectives in those commissions.
And I must say, those are the things that I look forward to most at these NGCs, because, and sometimes they go late into the night, depending on just how robust the discussions are, how intense they are. But that gives the actual indication of what the strategic thinking is then for the organization. I quickly want to touch on something that also happened yesterday. There were demonstrations outside the venue. And having spoken to some of the people, they were lamenting the fact that the ANC hasn't paid their provident funds and the issue of payment, because we know in previous times there was the issue of the ANC owing SARS. So let's get an update. The TG's report, of course, touching on some of these things, but what is the situation with the protesters and them saying that their provident funds haven't been paid?
Well, to our knowledge, the issue has been about salaries and not about the benefits. Because if it is about benefits, then I will have to bring the TG here on board to have a say about what is the status of the payment of benefits that accrue to staff. From where I'm sitting, I'm not able to opine on that specific point. What I do know that the protests were always going to be about unpaid salaries. People have been paid now. And those that have not been paid are the senior layer, political leadership, elected leaders such as myself and others who have not been paid yet. And because we've got to absorb the shock, I suppose, and making sure, though, that our workforce are remunerated. And we've said very candidly, the SG said this on Sunday, we've candidly said that this is an undesirable situation, and that we do want to put an end, a complete end to this situation of non-payment of salaries now and then. And one of the things that we are looking at is increasing our membership base. And because in the first instance, the ANC must rely on its members. That's the one aspect. So collecting as best as we can. The second part is to look at our donor environment. And as we all know, we are all squeezed as a result of the fact that South Africa is 31 years into democracy. And, those in the Scandinavian countries and those in the Netherlands that were part of the anti-apartheid movement, and we would go fundraise in support of the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa are no longer there. There are shifts in their own countries for that matter. Some of them have been taken over, governments have been taken over by the right-wing forces. And so that has changed. So we need to pivot very quickly. Yeah.
We are out of time, but I have to ask you, the issues that we've just discussed, how do you respond to people who say that if the ANC can't get its own house and its own affairs in order, how can it lead society?
We have led society into freedom without a penny. We literally painting banners because we couldn't afford printing a banner when we're in exile and here inside the country. Painting banners for ourselves, creating ourselves banners in order to go protest. But we're able to deliver democracy.
And the here and now?
The here and now means that notwithstanding our challenges, we're talking about the state and state power. You see, if really the ANC was a corrupt organization, not individuals who are corrupt, I'm talking about the party, we wouldn't be poor.
All right, we have to leave it there. But of course, thanks as always, Mahlengi Bhengu, for stopping by, National Spokesperson of the ANC.